council. Do we have a roll call, please?
Councilman Anderson.
Here.
Councilman Shelton. Mayor Salee.
Present.
Vice Mayor Davis. Here. Councilman Williams. 3 present, 2 absent.
We could all rise for a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Bow your heads, please. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We should say it in rounds. First item is to consider approval of agenda as presented. Do we have a motion to approve?
We
Do
have
we have
one,
any corrections?
we have one deletion. Item 6 is withdrawn.
Any other corrections or comments? Seeing none, do we have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second. Have a motion and a second. All vote by saying aye.
Aye.
3 yes votes, motion carries.
Old-fashioned way there. Brings us to old business. Item 2, consider approval of minutes of council meeting held February the 15th, 2007. Do we have a motion and a second to approve?
Move approval. Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion about the minutes? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
3 yes votes, motion carries.
Item 3, consider on second and final reading ordinance 070101, rezoning 761 Buffalo Valley Road from RS20 Single Family Residential to RM8 Multifamily Residential, sponsor James Mills.
Mayor and council members, the property proposal for rezone is depicted on the screen. It consists of approximately 56.2 acres. The rezoning was approved by the planning commission, it's recommended by the planning department. We've received no calls or comments since first reading.
Do we have a motion and a second to approve?
Move approval. Second.
Motion and a second. Any comments from the council?
You've had no phone calls at all?
Wasn't Mr. Ross
Still waiting on his guest.
There's a fellow I think that's going to be here to make some comments, I think, about it. According to me.
I'm sorry.
No.
It looks like we don't have a copy of their development plan in front of us, but
I think I do, I'm sorry.
it does have,
Yeah, that,
their property touches out there, but it's through a wetland, so this other entrance is, how is that gonna work? How does?
Well, I don't know if you've been out to West Jackson, you can see where they've leveled out. You know where
Yeah.
they've lowered the power line?
Right.
It's about right there.
Okay.
And they've already gravelled it out, so you have excellent visibility pulling out here. Not only is this a wetland, it's also a floodplain under the new maps, so this will just be left as a green area. And that's one of the things that was intriguing to the planning commission is how much this plan incorporated green and left it as a natural area, and it incorporates the natural drainage of the property also. And I think from first reading, the property owner or the proposed purchaser committed at our meeting, not only the planning commission but the council, that this is the way the property would be developed.
I think it's gonna be very nice. I think that, you know, we were just talking about stormwater runoff and that sort of thing. I think by leaving a lot of the green space and not changing the topography is really going to prevent further runoff situations. So there's a big power line across that.
Yeah. Right here.
So they'll
That's
discuss
the
it.
power line through here too, so that pretty much keeps all that as open space, green area too. And it's a mixed use development, it includes condominiums, townhomes, and single family, but no multifamily, no rental units.
That's great.
So,
Any comments from the
What do you think? The only thing I'd say that the density is not going to be like anything that made the paper last night. that would just ruin that whole concept, although it could be done.
But we're just commenting about the green space that's going to be left in this
Yes.
subdivision, and that will be really good.
Any further comments by the council? Seeing none, all indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
3 yes votes, motion carries.
Next item is item 4. Consider on second and final reading ordinance 070102, rezoning a portion of 777 South Willow Avenue from RS10 Single Family Residential to RS5 Single Family Residential. Sponsor James Mills.
Mayor and council members, property is shown on the screen. It's a portion of the Heavenly Host Lutheran Church property. The property is currently split in the zoning with the front 3/4 already zoned as CG, and the back part zoned as RS10. The portion proposed rezoning consists of approximately 1.9 acres. Here's a schematic of what their proposal is for development. The current zone line runs approximately right through here. Proposed rezoning was approved by the Planning Commission, is recommended by the Planning Department, and we have received no calls or comments since first reading.
Can you go back to the previous map?
Yes.
Do we have a motion and a second to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Being that RS5, will that affect the property to the north as far as, I mean, should it all go to RS5 or?
It potentially could.
I wanted to ask, what relationship does this have with what was in the newspaper, or that the county is
You see that road coming up through there?
proposing to
Right next
use
to it.
for the health department?
Well, this is the property that the county has proposed to purchase right here, right beside the Lutheran
Okay,
Church
so,
property.
but they want like, is it 100 feet setback or 200 or something?
I think it's currently 350.
Yeah,
Currently
Yeah, but
350.
they
This is
want.
350 from here to here, and this is also 350 to Lone Oak.
But were they going to move it more toward Lone Oak or something? Was there
They
some-
requested it, that potentially, of course, we've not seen officially what they want to request, but the discussions are to move it further back towards Contraband and further closer to Lone Oak.
The latest plan I saw did not bother where it says RS10 toward Contraband Lane.
It's
It
not
didn't-
going
It didn't bother
to-
that 350 at all, but it was going to bother the 350 toward Lone Oak, if they wanted to put the health department there too.
But it's not going to bother this program. But do the aerial thing just.
There, okay.
Okay. Now then, that's the side. Okay, where would the tract that the county is interested in placing those two things?
The information I've got would be the back 16 acres of this tract, which extends, of course, this is not part of it, but it would extend behind these lots, come out to Lone Oak, and would run basically down like this.
Uh-huh.
They're not,
Of
would
course,
not.
they have to have buffers and so forth. I mean, it's, and the ambulance spot would be on this side, wouldn't it? On this southern.
Well, they're
part.
indicating that if it does go here, it would go down here.
Yeah.
And the health department would go up there.
Uh-huh.
On this particular lot here, the 777 address, if this is going to be residential, will all of those houses or whatever they're going to be, will they all be 777 South Willow? How will
Oh,
that?
man. No, let me go to the plan here. This plan would require the construction of a street that goes through the Heavenly Host property. This may remain as private, it could be dedicated as a city street. Either way, it would be a new street, would have a street name on it, it would be addressed off of this.
Okay.
If it is private, of course, it'd be built to our standards, our codes require that. And if they choose to keep it for maintenance purposes, they can, as long as we have a perpetual agreement for maintenance.
But, and so if the county, then, if that project went through, then could we be assured that there's a good buffer between these two projects?
Well, for CG, when it abuts CG and it's non-residential, there is no buffer requirement. So for the church part, if this, for example, if it went in right in here, then there'd be no buffer between the church and the potential location of the ambulance service. Now, where it abuts residential, there's a top 2 screen requirement, which is solidly opaque for 3 feet and scattered trees to 8 feet and with a buffer width of 20. Now, since we're talking about this, I'll mention something else. When this area was extended, this Star Trek thing just drives me. In 2002, this area was actually extended. The zone did come all the way up in here. It was actually extended several feet. And the theory at that time when we did our new zoning map was that all this would be linked together. And let me go back to the aerial and you can see it better. Try to here. Yeah, all this would be linked together with a row of residential development that would come back out here to Longmeadow through this 350-foot strip that goes around. That was what was discussed several years ago when this was partially rezoned at that time.
Well, that was the development. That was agreement with the neighborhood and the developer at that time to protect the neighborhood. He got to push it back 400 and some extra feet, but there was a buffer.
Yeah, I want to point out too, we've not received any type of formal request.
I was going to say, this, all the county stuff, this is still speculation,
Sure.
isn't it? Or,
But it is a good point that this residential development, the church's proposed, could be affected by what was
yeah.
announced in the paper.
Well, for the most part, the ambulance, no, they're not turning on sirens till they come out, till they get out on Willow anyway. So, I mean, as far as noise,
Yeah,
other than just turning on their
right.
engines.
Well, and just being on Willow itself, you know, and the way that looks on the residential, what the drawing looks to me like it's further, you know, back, so. And here again, I think they're planning this to be a retirement kind of community.
Yes, the
Yeah,
church.
it's there.
Yeah, so,
It's for elderly
Yeah.
or retired people.
Have they had any comments? Have you heard any calls about the newspaper article?
No, not on that. Now, once we receive a rezoning request, we notify all surrounding property owners within 600 feet. And I'm sure we're going to get plenty of comments.
Mhm.
That's if you get a rezoning.
That's
Right, I mean,
said
that's-
if, now, I had a caveat in there, if.
yeah.
What is this exactly to the south of this lot that's considered for rezoning that looks commercial?
This area?
Yes.
That's the lumber company, what is it? This is W&O.
Okay.
Oh,
This
it's
is
Ace
the housing
Hardware.
projects.
Ace Hardware people.
Yeah, Potters.
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 Yeah, Potters.
That's what's in there. And then W&O Construction Office is in there. That's the old YMCA
Yeah.
Yeah.
building there.
Well, you know, they know what they're getting into.
So where's the stoplight?
Well, there's a stoplight right here. And that's, if all this that's been in the paper, this is where they would come out at the light.
Where are these people are all, these residential areas, though, they're all going to have to come out right there by that school, correct?
Yes. They would, this area would be, this is where it would come through. Like I said, our preliminary discussions and our long-range plan was for this to all to loop and connect with this 350-foot strip where you'd have a through street that would come through like that. But that, that was what was discussed. We've never, no formal approval of any additional subdivision development through here.
What about the, it looked like, if you, without causing you much trouble, go to the one that shows their development there.
The site plan?
The site plan.
Okay, no problem.
Okay, see, at the end of that road, there, you got the cul-de-sac, but there's no lot at the end of that road. It doesn't.
And right there.
No, it wouldn't connect here. They would, one of these lots would be removed, and they're aware of that, and this would be a right-of-way where the street would come through like this.
But it looks like they're leaving right-of-way at the very end of that you might could shoot through and connect to contraband.
No, that's not what they're showing. This is it looks that way. That's a green area just showing for architectural purposes. This is the property line here.
Okay, I got you.
So those lots are right there and right there.
I got you.
Now, and topographically, it'd be near, it would be, I don't think we would approve a connection to contraband there. It drops basically straight off right there.
I don't think those people want that.
No, I don't think they do either.
Well, I don't have any problem with this. I think this is a wonderful project. We need more
Yeah, I think
housing
it's
for
great.
elderly.
I think it'd be a nice project.
Yeah. You just, when we get to the, if that other project comes forward, then it's going to be. See that there's not encroachment upon this one, I guess.
Any further comments? Any comments from the audience about this rezoning? Or seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
3 yes votes, motion carries.
No opposed.
All right, next item, item 5, consider on second and final reading ordinance 070103, rezoning a portion of 1011 East 10th Street from RS10 Single Family Residential to CL Local Commercial. Sponsor James Mills.
Mayor, council members, property proposal for rezoning is depicted on the screen. It's a portion of parcel 4. This is the portion that's being proposed for rezoning. It consists of 1.2 acres approximately. The entire tract consists of just approximately 2.5 acres. This is the current zoning. You remember at the first reading of this, the property owner, Mr. Gall, committed to developing this as a condominium development, upscale condominium development. The rezoning was approved by the Planning Commission as recommended by the Planning Department. We've had no calls or comments since first reading. It was noted at first reading that if the rezoning is approved, that he would develop at less density than he could currently develop. That CL zoning allows the development of 1 per 3,000 for multifamily, so they could build, I think we figured 22 apartments in here, 24 apartments in here right now with 5 single-family houses. His plans would indicate he would do no more than a total of 22 condominium developments in his rezone.
Do we have a motion and a second?
Move approval. Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion by the council? Any discussion or comments from the audience? Discussion? Seeing none, I'll indicate, those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
3 yes votes, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Miller.
And that concludes our old business, and new business was canceled for this evening. At this time, we have a hearing of citizens and/or delegations, and it looks like we have some students that, Councilwoman Anderson, I'd like to recognize.
I'd like to recognize my students who came today with the weather being very inclement, but they were persevered for extra credit, and don't want anybody to think they needed extra credit. They wanted extra credit.
Josh.
So,
I need it.
that's right. Mr. Mills, Josh does not need the extra credit. He wants it, so we're going to give him that. But thank you. I hope you didn't have too much trouble since we relocated, but we thought if the tornado came, we'd be in a good place here. So, these young people have been putting up with me for the last 3 weeks, learning about government, and so they got to come tonight and see government in action, and it's kind of interesting. Thank you.
Bare bones, wasn't
It was bare bones tonight, so nothing real exciting, but that's what runs the business there.
I would encourage you to come to the next meeting.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you all.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks
for
to the
coming.
parents for bringing them.
Absolutely. Any other comments from the audience or anybody that has anything they want to speak to? We always offer the last few minutes of our council to bring forth your ideas and share your comments and concerns, and we'd like to encourage you to come each and every time if we can. Any comments from the council? No? All right. Well, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Go ahead.